Well, buenos dias and welcome to another edition of the Lanzarote News from me, Mike, from Lanzarote Information. Now, as always, I'm going to be updating you on the news this week from your favourite island. I'm also going to be talking about the weather, and forgive this kind of bright spot over my shoulder here. As you can see, it's a beautiful sunny day and the sun is streaming in through the skylight above my head in the kitchen. I'll also be doing the phrase of the week in Spanish for you, and at the end of this video I'll be giving you 3 things you could be doing if you're on the island next week. So let's crack on. So the news, first of all, we had an interesting stat this week that the number of passengers transiting through the airport in February was only 0.8% higher than it was on 2023. Now that is still an increase, but it suggests that the growth in tourism here is starting to slow, which most people here would consider a good thing. Previous years, last year February was 12% up on the year before, and the year before that it was 23% up. So 0.8 is a relatively small amount of growth. Nobody really knows the answer now. Is this going to be a trend for 2025, or is that just a one-off? We'll find out over the next few months, and I'll keep you informed of it as we learn more. And Lanzarote's GDP grew by 4%. Which is significantly higher than the whole of Spain combined, which was at 3.2%, and a lot higher than the Eurozone, which only grew by 0.8% in terms of GDP in 2024 versus 2023. But we had lots of other good economic news as well. The average income per household in the Canaries increased by around 11% during 2024. Unemployment fell by around 12%, meaning there are many more people in work, and those people are earning significantly more than they were previously. Now, next up, the United Kingdom's new ETA visa waiver scheme, ETA, comes into force for EU citizens on the 2nd of April. So that means after the 2nd of next month, if you're an EU citizen and you're planning to go to the UK, you will need to apply for one of these ETAs. They cost £10. You can apply for them via the UK government website, or there are apps available for both iOS and Android. Just search on your app store for UK ETA, UK ETA. Now, those of you who stay in Costa Teguise will know that the entry to the town, that main road coming in from Arrecife, has a couple of skeleton buildings on it, as they're called here. The first one has been inhabited by a lot of squatters for a long time. It's known as Plot 214, and it's the one with the sort of 2-storey houses on it. I walked past it this week and had a good look inside, and a lot of those properties are currently occupied. That place actually had a demolition order put on it in 2005, so 20 years ago. And the court is now at the point where they are planning to enforce that order. So the families who are living there, the people who are living there, are likely to be evicted in the very near future. At this stage, the court have asked them to come and visit the court and identify themselves so that the court knows who they're dealing with. And the plan is to help those who really need help to find accommodation, move them out, pull down the old buildings which having been stood for 20 years, probably have what's called concrete sickness. They just need to be pulled down. And there is a plan in place to put a bungalow-based or villa-based boutique hotel on that piece of land. So we'll keep you informed about the progress on that, but at the moment those people are likely to be evicted in the not too distant future. The upside, of course, is it will clean up what is a horrible mess really for people arriving into Costa Teguise for the first time, because it's pretty much the first thing you see, and the area looks like just a rubbish dump. There's rubbish lying around everywhere there. The buildings are a mess. They have a lot of graffiti on them, and it just isn't a nice thing to see when you first arrive in a resort for your holiday. Now, we've had the mayor of San Antonio here, San Antonio in Texas, of course. He's here on an official visit. His name, he says, looking at his iPad, is Ron Nierenberg. Ron has been over to sign papers with our president, Oswaldo Betancourt, to officially twin San Antonio with Lanzarote. For those of you who don't know, San Antonio was actually founded by families from Lanzarote in 1731. So we've had an awful lot of ties between that city and this island going back centuries. Also good news this week, the road that goes past Los Hervideros, which is the road from the salt pans, the Janubio salt pans near Playa Blanca to El Golfo, which has been shut for years. The project is now out to actually sort that out and fix the road. The issue was a section of it collapsed due to sea erosion, as I said, several years ago. The building company that have been looking at it have identified 6 other places that need fixing that could collapse before the road can be safely used again. So the project's going to be a pricey one, about 7.2 million euros. That plan has now been accepted by the Cabildo. It's just waiting for sign-off from the College of Engineers. Once they've done that, it will go out to tender. And the hope is that work will start there either towards the end of this year or at the beginning of next year. So hopefully by summer 2026, we'll see that road open again. I hope so, because it's a gorgeous road to drive and an even better one to cycle on. Now, before we continue with the news, let's carry on with our little mini Spanish lessons that we're having. And please bear in mind that this isn't about teaching you Spanish. It's just about giving you some useful phrases that you can use every day. There are plenty of people who can give you Spanish lessons, and I'm happy to recommend some of those. But today I wanted to talk about greetings and saying hello to people. Now, we all learned in school, and all of you will know, that the most common way to say hello to anyone is buenos dias. And buenos dias means good days, literally. But I also want to talk about the other 2 greetings, and more importantly, when to say them. And the other 2 are buenas tardes and buenos noches. So when do you say these different phrases? Well, buenos dias works until lunchtime. So if you see anyone in the morning and before you've had your lunch, you would say to them, buenos dias. And after you've had your lunch, but before it gets dark, you would say good afternoon to them, which is buenas tardes. Now, bear in mind that it's buenas because tardes is a female verb, so is a female noun. So the adjective becomes female. So the buenos, which goes with dias, changes to buenas. So it's buenas tardes. And then when the sun sets, we change it to buenos noches. Now, that is a little bit weird for English-speaking people, because you wouldn't walk into a restaurant in the UK, for example, and greet everyone with good night, which literally is what buenos noches means. But here in Spain we do. So when you walk into a restaurant, they will say to you buenas noches, and you will reply buenos noches. So those are the 3. And just to recap, in the morning until you've had your lunch, buenos dias. In the afternoon until it gets dark, buenas tardes. And in the evening, once it's dark, evening and night, buenas noches. So let's move on with the news now. And 2 of Lanzarote's restaurants have received awards in the prestigious Que Bueno Awards. And this is an all-island awards event that takes place every year to recognise the restaurants who are doing good things across the islands. The 2 restaurants are Sebe in Costa Teguise, which has been given an award. It's a bit of a weird one, this special recognition to the Sustainable Restaurant of the Year. Now, I don't know what that means, to be honest, but I do know that Sebe do an absolutely fantastic range of rice dishes. So if you're staying in Costa Teguise or travelling there, I'd highly recommend a visit to Sebe. That's pronounced S-E-B-E. And the chef there is Valencian, and Valencia kind of invented the whole rice thing with paella and the various other different types of rice dishes. So highly recommended, and I'm pleased to see them recognised, despite the fact that I have no idea what that award means. And the other award for a restaurant here was given to Brisa Marina, which are located and have been for years right on the promenade in Playa Blanca, kind of in the town beach area there. And the award they were given was for Best Canarian Reflection Cuisine. And they do have a very traditional Canarian menu there. It's a great place and one we often stop at when we're in Playa Blanca. Now, there was a lovely story this week. You probably know him as the Barber of Haria. A lot of people know him as El Mudo de Haria, the Mute of Haria, because he is both deaf and mute. His name is Ladislao Rodriguez Bonilla. And although he retired a couple of years ago, he is still with us, thank goodness. And a statue has been made of him to recognise his contribution to the village of Haria. And it sits right by the town Aljibe. And it's actually on the route he used to walk every day from his house, which is down the alleyway there, to his barber shop, which is opposite the corner bakery in the village. And it's a beautifully done piece. I really, really like it. It immediately makes you think of him, and it's a statue of a bronze of him leaning on his barber chair. And I can't count the number of times I've walked past the shop and seen him in that exact pose. The unveiling was done this week. The president of the Cabildo, Oswaldo Betancourt, was there, but so were a lot of other people. I mean, there's an awful lot of love for Ladislao all across the island. So it was a big do, and it was very, very nice to see. And I love the fact that these statues are being created to people while they're still alive, rather than something that happens after we've lost them and we miss them. Now, another story I particularly love this week. I should give you a bit of background to this. There is a new urban park being put into Playa Honda. Now, this urban park is looking very good, and I walked past it a couple of weeks ago, and I saw what I thought were very weird and complex looking streetlights. But actually I found out what they are now, and they are called wind trees. And when the wind blows, these wind trees, the elements of the wind trees spin around, and they generate electricity to provide that electricity to the electric car chargers in the car park there. I think it's so much nicer than having a windmill, and I hope that we see more of these wind trees around the island in the future, because it's just an interesting alternative way of creating energy while putting up something that looks dynamically interesting and effective. Now, I feel as though we've been talking about this next story for ages and ages, but it's the one about the dive centre at Playa Chica. And we have been talking about it for a long time. The idea is to build a dive centre there which divers will be able to use to get changed, to use the showers and bathrooms and leave their belongings safely in lockers. It's very important that we do this as soon as possible. It's one of the most popular dive sites on the islands. I've dived there many, many times myself over the years, and it's kind of frustrating that you end up having to get changed on the promenade there in front of everybody. You've got to use the limited facilities of the public toilets there if you need to do so, and there's just no sort of sense of privacy or safety for your belongings when you're out diving. This new diving centre is going to be 988 square metres, and it's going to cost just over €1 million, but I think it's a really good investment. The final plan has now been signed off, and it will be going out to tender imminently, with the aim that it will be operational by early 2026. And finally, in the news, I'm going to talk about the weather. We really have had weather over the last week, and normally it's so benign here you don't even think about it. We've been hit by, well, we weren't hit, but Storm Jana, J-A-N-A, was quite some way off the coast of the Canaries, but it produced a very, very big swirl of wind, which brought very strong winds for the island and very heavy rain. And it's kind of been weird all week in that normally our weather, you wake up in the morning, you look out of the window and you think, okay, that's what the weather's like. What's been happening this week is unusual in that it just keeps changing. I mean, for example, on Thursday of this week, we were out with a group of friends in Teguise. It was absolutely beautiful. The weather was lovely. We had lunch sitting outside. And within an hour of us finishing lunch, fortunately, the wind was howling, and then a couple of hours after that we had some very heavy rain. So it's unusually changeable weather for here. Today, and I'm looking out of the window, it's beautiful. You can see from the sunlight behind me, the sky is beautiful, but I just don't trust it, whereas normally when it's like this, I know it's going to continue like this. Hopefully the effect of that storm, and there was another one behind it apparently, will soon dissipate and we'll just get into our normal beautiful winter weather where normally we don't have much wind at all. I've got a final news story for you, and it's quite a funny one really. One of the local online newspapers, and they, I have to say, do have a habit of doing this, misunderstood an article in one of the Spanish newspapers or mistranslated it, and they ran a story saying that the Canary Islands are going to stop changing the clocks, and that they were quite adamant that when we change the clocks in March of this year, it will be the last time we ever do it. That story was completely incorrect. That isn't the case. Currently, there are no plans in place to stop changing the clocks in spring and fall. It may happen in the future. The Canarian government have been talking about this for years. They're also talking with the Spanish government because they also change their clocks, but our time is an hour different to theirs. And actually Spain is on the wrong time. It's been on Central European time since the Second World War, when Franco wanted Spain to have the same time zone as the Nazi-controlled part of Northern Europe. Really, Spain should be an hour ahead of where it is and have its time about the same as ours. But anyway, the main thing is, if you've seen that story, which was inevitably picked up by the British tabloids, that we aren't changing our clocks here, that is currently not the case. So the clocks will go forward this month, they will go back again in October. That may change in the future, but there are no firm plans to do so yet. The moral of this story is to get your news from us rather than other sources. So that's it for the news. Let's talk about the 3 things you could be doing if you're here next week. And the first of those is a suggestion to visit the open-air cinema, which is called Starlight, in Puerto del Carmen. I'm suggesting you do that on Thursday the 20th of March because they're showing a film called Wolves. It slightly irritates me because I think it should be called Wolves rather than Wolves, but it is called Wolves, and it stars Brad Pitt and George Clooney. The reason I suggest it is that we watched the film, we saw it on Apple TV or Netflix or something like that a couple of weeks ago, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. It's well acted, it's got quite an interesting story, but mainly I'm recommending that you have the Starlight experience, which is epic. They have an absolutely huge screen there. You wear Bluetooth headphones, so you can choose to have the film in English or Spanish language. The seating is very, very comfortable. If it gets cool, there are blankets dished out, and you have a little button on your table you can press to summon a waiter who will get you a waiter or waitress, who will get you your drinks or food or snacks or whatever you want. So it's a really, really nice experience, and of course it's called Starlight, you're under the stars. So that's what I'd recommend for Thursday of next week. And the other 2 events take place on Friday, the 21st, and they're very different, so I'm not sure one will appeal to the other. But the first one I'm going to recommend is that you go and see the Scartoons playing live at Café La Ola in Puerto del Carmen. Now the event all kicks off from 4:30 in the afternoon when DJ Matt James will be playing a set. And then the Scartoons go live from 7:30 to 9:30. And then from 9:30 until very late, there's a set from DJ Basilio. Now, for those who don't know them, the Scartoons are a ska band, as you'd guess from the name. So they play all that ska type music from Buster Blood Vessel and Madness and the Specials from that era of British pop music. They're very, very good at it. There's a load of them in the band. It's a big band, and they really create amazing energy and a really, really good live performance. So that's the Scartoons live performance at Café La Ola next Friday. But if that isn't your thing, how about coming to Haria to enjoy the carnival procession here? I think the Haria Carnival procession is one of the best. It sort of occurs at the point where all the dancers and musicians that have been going around the island for a few weeks have really nailed what they're doing. They know all their routines inside out, but they're still relatively fresh, so the performances are very good. And it's also a relatively short route. They go from the cemetery in Haria to the town plaza, so down Calle San Juan. The party afterwards that takes place is always epic in the plaza. There are lots of chiringuitos there that will sell you Cuba Libres and snacks and that kind of thing. And what tends to happen at the end of the procession is that all the drum bands then have a kind of drum off in the plaza. So it's a really nice carnival to attend, and there's a great atmosphere up here for that. So if the Scartoons aren't your thing, you might enjoy Haria Carnival. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you so much once again for watching. We appreciate every single view. If you did like this video, please give us a like. It does help us. And have you got a comment or a question? If you have a question, anything to do with the island at all, stick it in comments below. I read every single comment, and I will certainly reply to you to the best of my ability. Remember, we have a Tuesday video every week, which is generally an informational one. So I'll be telling you a story about the island or giving you some information about Lanzarote. We also have a Thursday video, which is always a walkabout, where I literally just walk somewhere with my camera and talk about what I'm seeing and what's going on. Sometimes it's a village, sometimes it's a resort area. I'll often go and visit the capital, so you can just kind of wander around with me, see the live weather and get a feel for the place that I'm visiting. And then, of course, every Saturday we put this news video out for you. So once again, thank you so much for watching. See you again next week, perhaps Tuesday, perhaps Thursday, if not on Saturday. Bye for now, everyone. Bye.